Hey all, and welcome to another edition of Paracord Reviews. This week, if you saw the title, we're going to go talk about American or US made paracord versus Chinese made paracord. If you read the Facebook boards and the Reddit boards, people go back and forth on this topic. And quite frankly, I've never really had any skin in the game. I've never really looked into it. My philosophy was always 7-strand to 7-strand to 7-strand. But looking into it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to run some tests. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is a couple of different tests. We're going to talk about stretch. How much stretch do they have? So if I put a weight over 48 hours, how much is it going to stretch? Will one stretch more than the other? Paracord is supposed to stretch, we know that, but does one have more stretch than the other? We're going to do actually a tensile strength test, see how that does. We're going to look at the thickness and just the cord itself, and then we're going to compare it and how they burn. So first, let's talk about this. Here's a couple things I've made. This one actually is from Chinese made paracord. This one is from US made paracord. You know, just looking at them, can't tell any difference. I don't think anybody would be able to. Other than the fact that this is digital camo and this is woodland camo, I don't think anybody would know the difference. Here's the other thing. This is just some paracord we picked up at Walmart for leisure arts. I think you can find them at Michael's or places like that. You know, this is, it says here, if you look, Leisure Arts, Maumelle, Arkansas. Okay, maybe that's great. Maybe that means it's US made. Nope, you continue to scan and look at the barcode, made in China. So, you know, do people even know the difference? Does it matter? Well, we're going to find out. So let's first look at the paracord itself. So I'm going to grab a couple of pieces and I'll be right back. So now we have a couple of pieces of paracord. The orange paracord is US made. I bought it from one of the big US vendors. On their website, they say all their paracord is made in the USA, so I'm going to take them at their word. The other one, this is some stuff. If you saw my Wish video, you may recognize it. This is from China. So if we look at it, both of them are 7-strand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're both 7-strand. So that's all well and good. But I will tell you, if you look at the paracord, let's look at the thickness. You can see that the US stuff, the orange stuff, is thicker. Now, is it just the sheath? The sheath is definitely in this case, the orange versus the print. It definitely does look thicker if you look at it. As far as the bendability and the way it recovers, if you look at that, it's about the same. But also if you look at the strands themselves, the orange just seems a little bit more wound tight. It definitely has a better form than the other stuff. So what will that mean? I have no clue. We're going to take a look, we're going to run some tests, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so let's talk about the stretch test. I've done this one before, but we're going to do it again. One of these is Chinese, and one of these is American. Can you guess which one? I'm not going to tell you. think about it, make your decision, and let's see if one stretches more than the other. After the test, I'll tell you which one is which. So what we're going to do, the green one, so you can see, green, nice kind of olive drab green. And this is called, I believe they called it Coyote Brown. So let's take, I have my yardstick here. We're going to take 1 yard of paracord. Got my trusty Home Depot yardstick. So we now have 1 yard of paracord. Let me cut that. So we have 1 yard of the green, and let's take the brown. And you will see that this is kind of looks knotted. That is because it was on a tight spool, and when I got it, hopefully that doesn't give away who it came from, but it was on a spool when I got it, and for some reason it's just held that rotation. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to take and tie a simple knot around one 10-pound dumbbell. Just going to do a simple square knot, double square knot for this one. And we are going to do another simple square knot on this one. Now, how am I going to do this? Let's first make sure this knot holds. Yep. Yep. Okay, so what are we going to do? I am going to take some clamps that I picked up, once again, from Harbor Freight, and I am going to simply take it and clamp this to my workbench. And I will show you how I've done so here in a moment. What we will do is we will let these sit for 48 hours. And we are going to see how far they stretch, if they stretch at all. Now, history knows, for my longtime viewers, I've done this on a couple of different types. For a weight like this, there will probably be some stretch. But how much? Which one gives the most? There should be some stretch. Paracord is made to stretch. But which one will have the most stretch? That is the question. So we will see shortly, and we'll come back in 48 hours, and we'll have a better idea at that time. So you can see here, these are now hanging, they are suspended. And we'll come back in 48 hours and see how it looks. Okay, y'all. It's actually been 72 hours since I put these on, and you can see that they are still dangling. So let's take them off and see what we can see. Okay, here is the brown one. Undo that. Undo that. Interesting, it still kind of has the remnants of the kinks from it being spooled up. Wasn't expecting that. So if you remember, we did it as 1 yard. So now I'm going to take and let's see what we can see. Oh wow, it's already past 36 inches. And it grew just shy of 1 inch. We'll call it 37 inches. Interesting. Now we're going to take the green. Untie this. Once again, this was cut at 1 yard. So let's start. Okay, interesting, very interesting. 36 and a half. So the green shrunk or stretched out less than the brown. So let's compare them again. Starting here, we're going along, going along, going along, going along. And we can see that there's definitely a difference. So which one do you think was US made and which one do you think was Chinese made? I'll tell you, the green was the Chinese made. So interesting results. We'll go on to our next test. Okay, y'all, now we're going to do some science. To quote one of my favorite movies, I'm going to science the shit out of this experiment. What we're doing here is we are going to do a tensile strength test. So I took the 2 pieces that from my last test, and that was a stretch test. If you want stretch and you're going to use it for survival type things or that purpose, maybe the American US made would be better. If you're looking for a lack of stretch, maybe you want it to keep its shape and form better, maybe the Chinese is better. But for this one, we need some weight. So what we're going to do is here I have 31 pounds. So 2 10s, an 8, and a 3. And we're going to drop this from 6 feet. Now in doing so, when you drop 31 pounds from 6 feet, assuming that you were in a vacuum and there was no friction, that would have the force or the splat factor, according to physics, of approximately 555 pounds. Now, of course, the air is going to have friction due to materials in the air, humidity, etc. But I think we can safely assume that physics is going to be pretty damn close. And if I drop this at 6 feet, we're going to get 555 pounds. So what am I going to do? I'm going to cut 2 cords at 6 feet long or 3 feet long. I'm going to hold it up 6 feet and drop it down the 6 feet, and we will be able to determine which one, if any, snaps. If both of them don't snap, then we'll look at the stretch factor and go from there. Can't wait to find out. Okay, all. Here we go. So that is a 3-foot drop. I'm going to climb up. I'm going to drop this and let's see if it snaps. Wearing safety goggles for protection. Okay. We will drop this in 3, 2, 1. That's 555 pounds of force, and it took it. Let's try the American stuff. Same thing. We're going to drop this from 3 feet above here, this board, which will be a total of 6 feet drop. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It held. So both the Chinese and the American stuff can handle 555 pounds, give or take, of force. So I had an interesting little thing as I was cleaning up. One of the pieces of paracord I used to tie these bundles together broke. Now, granted, they were bundling it together and they took a lot of impact. They were taking maybe the brunt of it. But if you look, the brown paracord is still together. This is the US paracord. The green broke. The green was right here and it broke. So that's interesting development. What's it mean? It could mean nothing. It could mean that that after getting stretched, it weakens the strength, and receiving that much weight multiple times, it couldn't handle it. Just an interesting observation is all. Okay, all, we're at our last test. This is going to be the burn test. I have 2 pieces here. Woodland camo and some super wild pattern. This is Chinese, American made. Now in this case, we talked earlier about the orange versus the pattern one, the orange that was made in the U.S. versus the pattern one that was China. If you look at these two, the Chinese stuff is thicker than the woodland camo. So sheath size seems to be about the same, but it's just an interesting observation. So what we're going to do is I am going to light these, and we're going to see, do they burn evenly? Do they burn? Do they just melt? Because this can mean make or break for, as many of you know, this can be make or break for trying to join pieces or anything like that. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see what I got going here. I take my lighter. Let's actually take these and put them a little bit closer together. Okay. So we are trying to light them. So far neither one is catching fire. They're both melting. I have the flame on both of them. Okay. Nope. Neither one has caught fire. Let's see. So now both have caught fire. Seems like as you can see, the Chinese one seems to be really so the US stuff has put itself out. And it keeps starting back up, but I think it's due to the proximity of the Chinese stuff. but you can see the US stuff definitely does not burn. Well, now it's making a liar out of me. So the US stuff is continuing to kind of flicker, but it has not burnt down as quickly as the Chinese stuff. And it's acting like it's going to burn itself out, and it has. They're both kind of even as far, but as you could see, the Chinese stuff caught fire much quicker and it burned longer. So what does this mean? We saw that the US stuff stretched more. We saw that neither one snapped, although the Chinese cable that was holding the bundle did snap after several tests. We have seen that it really does, there's no consistency as far as US versus Chinese in regards to flexibility or retention or anything of that nature. We have seen that the Chinese does look like it burns quicker than the US stuff, although they both burn. So which one is better? I think that's really up to you. Well, sorry about that, guys. I actually had the battery on my phone die, so had to get it plugged in. Anyway, as I was saying, what does it mean? What's the best? That's really up to you. I think that if you are just making bracelets and you're not worried about the long-term survivability, or no, let me put it a different way. If you're making bracelets for decoration, you're making keychains for fun, for as jewelry, and it's not a survival type of thing, then I think the Chinese stuff is fine. But if you're looking to make something as, like, say, for a prepper, or you're looking to make something for some type of survival situation, the American stuff may be better. There's, nothing in our testing proved one way or another. I think the Chinese stuff looks like it burns a little quicker. So it might be easier to make for jewelry. The American stuff, I will say my gut tells me, just because of the impact testing and what we saw for building what I saw for building the bracing for the weights, the American stuff lasted after stretching and after multiple impacts. The Chinese stuff broke. So really it's up to you, but that's my opinion. Personally, I'll still probably buy the Chinese stuff, but when I'm making my belts, I will continue to make belts using the American stuff, since I tend to make belts that are more for survivalists. They are quick release belts, and in fact, maybe that's the next video I'll make, is on how I make belts. So until next time, keep paracording. Later.